The views expressed on 26 North Halsted do not necessarily reflect those of the management or staff of WCIU TV, Weigel Broadcasting, or its subsidiaries.
Welcome once again to 26 North Halsted. I'm your host, George Blaze. Well, it's that time of year again. You know, all the major holidays for a lot of us are over with. A lot of you have taken your winter vacation and got a little sun, you know, to survive the rest of this winter and are back home again, freezing, taking care of bills and what have you. But it's tax time. I know. Everybody's like, we're not thinking about it. Taxes are due in April. But no, now is probably the time to start getting your stuff together. Well, if you haven't been doing it all year long. But that's what we're talking about today, different issues related to taxes. Joining me now is our good friend, whenever we talk about this ugly business of taxes, a beautiful woman, Bridget Sullivan. Bridget, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks, George. It's great to be here.
It shouldn't come down to April 13th when you start preparing for what you're going to do as far as your tax situation. First of all, I guess what's new this year? Is there anything different people need to be considering?
Well, the biggest thing that people are asking me about is the economic stimulus package.
That there are different types of tax services or tax preparers or people you can go to. I mean, we see some of the major names that advertise on TV. There are many different types of people you might need depending on your situation. Let's talk a little bit about some of the different options out there.
Okay. Well, it depends on how complex your situation really is. If you just have a W-2 and really not much else, maybe some student loan interest or something like that, you can probably do it yourself. And if you want to be old school about it, you could go to the library and get some tax forms. Or if you have a computer and want to use the internet, you can get on the internet too. If you go through the IRS website, which is www.irs.gov, there are some options to do free filing as well. And that typically works for people whose income is less than $50,000 a year.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this economic stimulus money, what it means and how stimulating will it be. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 26 North Halsted. Today talking all about taxes and you with our good friend and CPA, Bridget Sullivan. Now let's talk about this economic stimulus package. I mean, I've been watching the news and I'm sure all of you out there have seen the reports that you're going to get this amount of money, but you might get this amount of money, you might get that. Let's kind of break down, generally speaking, what to expect, when to expect. First of all, where is this money coming from?
It's coming from the general budget, I suppose. If I'm not a policy wonk, but but I think it probably is. We're running a deficit and stuff. So
you get $600 per individual, but it varies depending on your situation. Let's talk a little about that. I guess it's based on income.
Right. It's based on income, and you have to look at the most number of people. Middle America will get $600 if you're single, $1,200 if you're married, filing jointly, and then you get $300 for extra for each child that you have that's claimed as a dependent who's under the age of 17 as of December 31st, 2007.
So basically, if you owe more than $600, you're going to get some money back, I assume, as far as when you file your taxes. Is that kind of a rough way to look at it?
That's a good rough way to look at it.
Okay. I mean, just
so
to
if you're on the bottom end,
right.
and you don't have to pay any money, you don't owe any money, you probably get $300.
Gotcha.
If you owe at least $600, then you should get $600. If you're between that, like say you owe $400, your total tax liability is $400, then your stimulus would be $400.
What should you do with this stimulus money?
Oh, I have some suggestions for that. I think that if you get any kind of windfall, that you really should split into 3 parts. If you have debt, use part of it, 1/3 to pay off your debt. Spend 1/3, go have some fun, and then save 1/3.
Bridget, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
again.
for having me.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the audit. This is your city, Chicago. But what's going on in your neighborhood? Do you have a topic you'd like to see discussed on our program? If you do, send us an email at 26nhalsted@wciu.com, or you can mail us at 26 North Halsted Show, 26 North Halsted Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60661. Welcome back to 26 North Halsted. Today talking all about tax time. It's tax year. Just had a great conversation talking all about filing your taxes and the stimulus plan that's coming. But for many of you, for some of us, it might not be such a great tax year. Well, it might be a good tax year, but you might get a call from the other end that you don't want. Yeah, that's a pesky audit. It happens, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reasons. It's not always bad news from what I understand, but here to kind of explain some of it to us here is Virginia Prajota. Thank you, Virginia, for joining us today.
Thank you, George.
And now you have a background as a tax attorney, and also I guess you've conducted several audits in your day.
Yes, before I saw the error of my ways, I worked for the Internal Revenue Service both as a tax collector and as a revenue agent auditing tax returns of individuals and small businesses.
What triggers an audit? I mean, when you get that letter in the mail and you're like, what happened? What did I do?
Well, sometimes, George, nothing really that you've done affects the outcome of your chances of getting selected for audit. The Internal Revenue Service has different methods of selecting tax returns for audit. First of all, the most likely aspect of the source of the audit would be at the service center level. This is still where the tax returns are processed and all of the income information made available to the Internal Revenue Service by third-party payors is compared with the amounts of income reported on the tax returns filed by the individuals using the Social Security number as the link. And if there's any difference, these will be kicked out for review. A lot of times, no human being even looks at this. This is all done within the computer, and you'll have a computer-generated correspondence audit at the service center level.
Now, everybody who files a return goes through this kind of filter?
Absolutely.
Okay. What should people do to prepare, when they know they've gotten the correspondence, they're going to be audited? How do you prepare for it? What should you have ready?
Well, first of all, you're probably going to get a list. If you're being audited at the office audit level, you're going to get a real specific list of documents that you should bring with you. The first thing any target of a tax audit ought to be doing is critically reviewing their own tax return. Take a look at the numbers that you put on that tax return. Do they really hold together based on what you know about your circumstances?
And I mean, technically it is much a legal proceeding, so in that sense, I guess you shouldn't volunteer any information.
You should never volunteer anything.
Okay.
If you're asked a question, answer it directly and don't amplify your response. If there's a long period of silence, don't try to fill it by chatting. The most innocuous statement that you can provide, the most innocuous statement that you can provide your tax auditor can result in an area where you don't need to go.
Keep your mouth closed.
Don't talk about your new HD TV that you just got.
Don't do it in that room. Virginia, I want to thank you for joining us, and hopefully as we get closer to tax time, or when we get the stimulus money, and we can have you back and talk a little bit about what all this means as well.
All right, thank you, George.
All right, this has been some great information. Remember, don't reveal information that isn't asked of you. All right, the burden of proof is on the IRS to prove your income and everything there too. So it's like a legal proceeding. Get some help. Get a CPA. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back. We've been talking all day today about taxes and audits and stuff like that. We thought we'd take a moment to go out in the street and find out some of the things that you all are doing about your taxes, how you're filing them this year, and what you're going to do with your stimulus money. Let's take a look at that.
What I'm doing with my refund, I don't know. I'm not going to waste it because I can't afford to do that. Waste it with, frivolous shopping. I'm not going to do that. How I filed it, is that what you want to know? I had a tax preparer file it.
Okay, so you went like HR Law?
No, a private guy, accountant.
I usually use TurboTax and just do them myself and file, and I should be getting a refund. I pretty much try to set it up so I don't get much of a refund every year. So I try to set up so I get as very little refund as I possibly can and keep my money all year long because taxes are way too high.
That's pretty interesting. I hope all of you have some great ideas about it too. Remember, the main thing is if you don't understand something, get professional help. That's right, get a CPA, get out there. Don't make any mistakes. We'll see you next week right here on 26 North Halsted.